Hello, everyone. Some of you have been in this room with me since the morning, but I haven't introduced myself. So I'm Mari-Liis from Estonia. I currently work at the Estonian Ministry of Education and Research, but I'm also a PhD student at Tallinn University. So I'm also writing my PhD thesis on the same topic. And I'm kind of balancing the two chairs, because on the ministry side I'm more towards trying to figure out what's the policy design going to be, and then on the university side I'm trying to figure out how varieties of capitalism work into all of this. So I hope I can maybe breach some of the previous discussions. We'll see how well I do, because there's been so many interesting ideas already today, so I have loads of inspiration. We are talking about low-skilled adults again. In that sense, Estonia is very close to Denmark, actually. When we talk about cycle 2 in PIAAC, we are quite similar in our proficiency levels, as well as the share of adults on different skill levels. As you can see here, Estonia is actually pretty happy to be in that upper corner. I just kind of wanted to show you this to give a reference of who we are comparing ourselves to as well. So it's not just to brag, because the rest of it is going to be about how we're not doing well. But we, of course, always look up to Finland, literally towards north, who's way ahead. But then there's always the question of where is Latvia, where's Lithuania? And in this regard, Estonia is always our thing. At least there's some good news that we've been keeping ahead. But on the other hand, I can tell you right now that Estonia is also very polarized at this moment, because we do have that Soviet legacy as well. So in the older cohorts, we see that very strongly, which I think we're quite similar to Latvia and Lithuania in that sense, that they also struggle with those same things. But when we talk about our younger cohorts, and by that I mean up to 35 or 45, so not like young people, we're talking PIAAC, then we are right there on top with Finland, doing really well. And I think when we talk about the varieties of capitalism and skill formation regimes, I noticed that you dropped Estonia from the abstract, had Estonia, and you dropped it. And I don't even need to ask why, because it's pretty complicated to fit us anywhere, because we are quite like liberal in our sort of capitalism. We sort of want everyone to be where you're like able to not be restricted by any sort of structures. But on the other hand, our social policy is like fully Scandinavian. Like we have a year and a half of work to be home with your baby with full pay. I think it's like more generous than Sweden and so on. So this has major influences on how the skill formation actually works. For another thing for background is regarding Soviet legacy, we do have older migration populations, some of them non-voluntary, some voluntary, who moved to Estonia during the Soviet times. So today we have second, third generation people who are mostly Russian speaking. A lot of them didn't even come from Russia, but other Soviet states. So this is why in Estonia, as well as Latvia, for example, we had the survey both in Estonian and Russian. So this is something to take into consideration if you have discussions about immigration populations in your countries. Then we don't really have new immigration, very few new immigrants. We have a very strict immigration policy as well, so it's really to be expected that we don't really have new immigrants, but we do have those older generations that don't really show up as immigrants anymore, but they are still very much Russian speaking. Some of them more integrated, some of them less. And this is also something that pops up in Estonian results right away. If you look at which language was used to answer the survey, the results are very different. So the Russian-speaking population performed much worse. So this is always like when I'm surrounded by researchers, I ask, okay, what if we made everyone answer in Estonian, where would we be? Knowing that even if they had the choice of language, they performed worse. So I'm very much critical of that position that we sort of pride ourselves with, because the language issue is there as well. As I said, we do have that high achievement, but we also have big gaps. We are happy that our literacy stayed the same. We slightly improved in numeracy, and the relative position of the problem solving also increased. While they're not, we can't really compare them, but last time we had like fairly bad results in problem solving, and we were very worried kind of what's going on. So our feeling is that the newer data collection methods probably worked better in Estonia, at least in some sense, because I think Estonians, at least in this first cycle, had a strong sort of feeling that they were like didn't feel competent enough to do the assessment on the computer, even if they maybe were competent enough. And this is something that we see in the cycle 2 results for Estonia as well, where Estonians say that a lot of them need to train for the job to do it better, like well. Like we feel like we're super underskilled, and then it's mostly like computer skills, which is also was similar, I think, in Norway and Japan possibly, which are like highly digitalized societies. So people feel a very big pressure to keep up with the AIs and everything. So this communication with the state is also very much through technology. So you have this very strong societal pressure to keep up. We have very big generational gaps. And what is worrying is that we don't have just like this, oh, and now 10 years have passed and it sort of moves along, but we see that people who 10 years ago or now 12 years ago were 44, 45, within that cycle have lost like 28 points in literacy. So I know there's a lot of discussion about all the linking errors and stuff. Some of you were in the workshop with me yesterday. So we can take that with a bit of, grain of salt, but it's a big number. So it's a little worrying. We also have differences socioeconomically, regionally. So all of these things sort of come together because the regional differences are, of course, related to both the education and the language skills as well. So we really felt the need to look into that, how these things come together. So this is the age and literacy score. The blue is OECD average, Finland is our god, and green is Estonia. So what we are worried about is that you can see that young people are pretty high up there, way above OECD average. And then when we talk about older people, Estonians are at the same level as the OECD average. So while I think we can all assume that there's some skill loss with age that we can just consider normal, right? It's life events, getting older, there's loads of things. But this sort of significant decline is something that worries us. Let's see. This is the share of adults on each literacy proficiency level. So this is, again, something that is very similar in Denmark to Estonia. But for reference, I just have Finland here because this looks way dramatic. So you can see Estonia went from having low-skilled 13% of adults to 20%. Meanwhile, Finland stayed the same. They did not increase in their low-skilled share. We also managed to increase high-skilled people share, so that's why we didn't fall behind altogether. But there's this clear polarization trend. And yeah, we're still fortunate enough to say we're above OECD average, but this is where it gets tricky for us. Yeah, so questions are who are the low-skilled, whether which effects are the most significant, and how we can intervene them. So here you can see the regression results for age and education most significantly. These are odds ratios, so people with lower secondary education have 25 times higher odds of being low-skilled than high-skilled people. The surest way to get rid of low-skilled people is to get everyone PhDs, because no PhDs have low skills. And also the age effect is pretty big. The labor market results that Denmark and Austria showed here are very much also in Estonia the same, I think, almost all of them. But we can also here, the model 1 is the same that you saw in the previous slide, and here I've added the occupation. We have that lovely 4-category variable in PIAAC of skilled, semi-skilled, and then white, blue, and elementary. And we can actually see that the kind of work people do has a significant effect, and it reduces the effect of age and education here. So I think from a policy-making perspective, it's the finding people through employers is probably going to be one of the main priorities for us, because that's definitely something that we don't have similar with Finland or other Scandinavian countries, is that employers don't have high support for learning, even though our adult learning participation is super high. We have participants who are, of course, highly educated women in good jobs. They're all studying all the time, great time. But low-skilled people, unemployed in low-skilled jobs, those are the people who we have not been able to catch, even though we've been increasing adult education provision a lot between the cycles. So yeah, and as you can see, the migration is not as important, and also the Estonian language skills go down if you consider the jobs. Again, while it might feel like maybe we can catch people and teach them Estonian, get them up on Estonian, and get them better prospects that way. It kind of feels like going through the workplaces is going to be more productive to catch the people and motivate them to actually work. And as a barrier as well, job, time, money is #1 thing. So yeah. Yeah. Okay. I have a minute. Yeah. Okay. Okay, we are moving on with this. This is just ongoing project. There will be an Estonian language report by the end of the year, but I'm sure we're gonna do an English language, at least an abstract or a short version where we look at it in depth, but we also have registry data that we're going to be analyzing over the next year to get a really in-depth understanding of the low-skilled and how their labor market outcomes and maybe how we can target them as well. And also the socio-emotional components, I really like we had before a presentation about the motivation of adult learners, and I think that's also something that we can explore to figure out how we can motivate those low-skilled people who will not come on their own to the training, even if we provide it. So yeah, thank you.